If they won't let me be Leo, then I'll decide who Lena really is.
Leonard Leo Morris never fit in at school. At 16, he was wiry, bookish, and far more comfortable sketching in his notebook than chasing balls across a muddy field. When the new community troupe announced auditions for a mysterious play called The Scarlet Masquerade, Leo saw a chance to hide backstage and breathe in the magic of costumes and scenery. But things changed when Vivian Cross, the sharp-tongued director, spotted him tinkering with fabric near the wardrobe. "You've got delicate hands," she smirked. "Perfect for sewing or acting." "There aren't any roles for boys my age," Leo stammered. "Not for boys, no," Vivian said. "But for girls? We need a young lady for the ingenue. With the right makeup. I'd wager you'd fool every eye in this room." Leo laughed nervously, but the seed had been planted. One afternoon, while helping in wardrobe, Leo was cornered by Clara Vaughn, the lead costume designer. "Hold still," she ordered, already dusting foundation across his face. Within minutes, Leo watched in horror and fascination as his reflection softened into someone else, a shy, pretty girl with wide hazel eyes. "Not bad," Clara mused. She pinned a wig onto his head, tightened a corset around his waist until his ribs begged for air, and slid a crimson gown over his shoulders. When Vivian saw him, she snapped her fingers. "Perfect. From now on, you're Lena. Tonight, you're rehearsing as our understudy." Leo tried to protest, but applause and teasing whistles from the cast drowned him out. That evening, Lena walked home with Clara, too terrified to change back. Her mother, Sylvia, opened the door, blinking in confusion. Who is this?" "It's me, Mom. It's Leo." Sylvia laughed nervously, but instead of scolding him, she shook her head. "Well, you're already prettier than half the girls at your school." But Sylvia wasn't as permissive as she seemed. Over the next days, she conspired with Clara. If her son could look like a daughter, why not keep him that way? It began innocently, pierced ears for realism, shaved legs for costumes. Then came the belt. Clara presented it as a theatrical prop, a Victorian chastity piece. But once locked onto Leo, it was no mere costume. "You want to stay in the play, don't you, Lena?" Clara whispered. "Then you'll stay just as you are." Vivian encouraged it, too. An actor sacrifices for the role. Think of this as method acting, darling. Leo realized with dread that they weren't preparing him for one performance, they were reshaping him for an entire season. As weeks passed, Lena became the darling of the troupe. Audiences adored her, classmates envied the mysterious cousin from out of town. But behind the curtain, Leo's freedom shrank with every locked clasp, every rule imposed by Clara and his own mother. Soon, even outside the theater, he was no longer allowed jeans, no longer allowed to speak in his old voice. His life was a constant rehearsal. The worst twist came when the troupe announced a tour, 3 months of performances across the state. And Vivian, smiling wickedly, announced, "Lena will be our leading lady." Leo's heart sank. The role he never wanted had become his reality, and the key to his freedom was hidden in someone else's pocket. The tour begins. The troupe's first stop was a historic opera house 2 towns over. Lena sat in the van, corset biting her ribs, skirt bunched under her thighs, while Vivian drilled lines with the cast. "You're the jewel of this production," Vivian told her. "Don't forget it." But off stage, Lena was never alone. Clara kept the wardrobe key around her neck. Her mother, Sylvia, had joined as chaperone, making sure Lena's disguise never slipped. Even at rest stops, Lena had to glide into women's bathrooms, cheeks flaming, terrified someone would notice. one night after rehearsal, a fellow actor, Damian Price, cornered Lena. "You're different," he said, eyes searching hers. "Not like the other girls." "I like that." He leaned close, too close. Lena froze, pulse racing. If Damian discovered the truth, it would destroy everything or set her free. Cliffhanger, would Damian expose her or become her secret ally? At first, Damian kept her secret. In fact, he began covering for her, steering nosy actors away, running interference when her voice cracked. But his kindness came at a cost. "You'll owe me, Lena," he whispered one night backstage. "I want more than friendship." Meanwhile, Sylvia and Clara were tightening their control. Sylvia forced Lena to keep a diary of her new life, making her write about how it felt to serve, dress, and behave as a girl. Clara inspected it at night, punishing her with extra chores if her words weren't feminine enough. The power game was no longer about the stage. It was about identity. About ownership. One evening, when Lena dared to argue, Clara jingled the tiny brass key to the belt. "Do you want me to keep you locked forever? Remember, darling, your freedom is measured in inches of steel." Cliffhanger, could Lena trust Damian enough to help her escape, or was he leading her into a worse trap? The party. Midway through the tour, the cast was invited to a gala at a lavish mansion. Lena was dressed in a velvet gown, her hair curled and pinned, lips painted scarlet. She looked stunning and utterly trapped. At the party, Damian pulled her aside. "Tonight's your chance. I can get you out. There's a car waiting at midnight." But before Lena could respond, Vivian clinked her glass. "Ladies and gentlemen, our shining star, Lena Morris." All eyes turned to her. Applause thundered. Panic surged. Then came the twist. Her own mother, Sylvia, stepped forward and kissed her cheek. "We're so proud of our daughter," she said loudly. Gasps rippled. Whispers filled the room. "Daughter? I thought she was an understudy." The lie was now official. Lena wasn't Leo in disguise anymore. She was publicly declared a girl. Cliffhanger, with her identity rewritten in front of strangers, could she ever go back? After the party, Lena tried to find Damian, but Clara intercepted her. "You thought you could run?" Clara hissed. She dragged Lena into a dressing room, locked the door, and produced a leather case. Inside were silk gloves, higher heels, and a wicked smile. "If you want to keep pretending, darling, let's see how far you can go." For hours, Clara drilled her, posture, walk, voice modulation. Every mistake was punished with tighter lacing, heavier padding, harsher rules. By dawn, Lena could barely breathe, her reflection in the mirror a stranger with perfect curls and painted lips. "Congratulations," Clara whispered. "You're no longer playing a role. You are Lena now." Cliffhanger, but how long before Leo, the boy inside, disappeared forever? Exhausted and defeated, Lena stumbled through rehearsals. Damian noticed, but she pushed him away, afraid his interest was just another form of control. Then came the performance where everything unraveled. Mid-scene, one of her earrings slipped off. As she bent to retrieve it, the tight corset snapped loose. The audience gasped as part of her disguise faltered. In that terrifying second, Lena had a choice: break character and reveal herself, or improvise and lean fully into the role she never wanted. With tears burning in her eyes, she lifted her chin and spoke her next line flawlessly, her voice ringing clear. The crowd erupted in applause. But backstage, Vivian grabbed her arm hard enough to bruise. "If you ever risk the illusion again, we'll make sure Lena is the only person who ever leaves this theater." Do you understand? Cliffhanger, what did she mean by make sure? And how far would they go to keep Lena trapped? After the near disaster on stage, Lena avoided everyone until Damien found her in the wings, trembling. You're killing yourself out there, he said softly. I don't know why they're pushing you like this, but I can't just watch. His hand brushed hers, a fleeting touch that sent a shiver through her. No one had touched her gently in weeks. I'm not who you think I am, Lena whispered, voice breaking. I know, Damien said. His gaze didn't waver. I've known for a while. And I don't care. Her breath caught. For the first time since her entrapment began, she wasn't alone. Cliffhanger, but if Damien already knew, why hadn't he told anyone? Damien became Lena's secret tutor. Late at night, in empty rehearsal halls, he coached her on stagecraft, but also on how to slip notes, how to signal him if she needed help, even how to fake smiles under Clara's watch. But every lesson risked discovery. Once, Vivian nearly caught them. Damien had leaned close, his lips brushing Lena's ear as he whispered a line. She jerked back just as the director entered. Why so jumpy, my star? Vivian asked, eyes narrowing. Lena forced a coy laugh, praying her pounding heart didn't give her away. Cliffhanger, was Vivian beginning to suspect more than a rehearsal? It happened on a rain-soaked night after a grueling show. Damien slipped into her dressing room with a contraband chocolate bar. They laughed as they broke it in half, Lena forgetting her corset, her false nails, her role. For one fragile moment, she was just Leo again. Then his lips found hers. It was clumsy, desperate, but real. She pulled back, panicked. You don't understand. If they catch us. I don't care, Damien said. I care about you. Whatever name you go by. The door creaked. Clara's voice floated in. Lena, are you dressed? We need you. They froze, breath mingling. Cliffhanger, did Clara hear them? Or would their secret remain safe, for now? The next day, Vivian called Lena into her office. You're distracted, she said coolly. I see it in your eyes. If you want to keep your role, you'll cut ties with Damien. He's a liability. Lena's heart dropped. Why him? Because, Vivian said, leaning forward, he sees through you. And we can't afford that. For the first time, Lena felt the sharp edges of the cage she lived in. If she chose Damien, she might lose her role and the safety of her false identity. But if she obeyed Vivian, she might lose the only person who cared about her, the only one who knew her. That night, Damien slipped her a note under the door. Meet me by the train tracks at midnight. If you want out, we leave together. Lena's hand shook as she read it. Cliffhanger, would she risk everything, career, family, safety, for the chance at freedom and love? Lena stood by the window of her boarding room, Damien's note clutched in her hand. Outside, the town was quiet, save for the distant whistle of a freight train. Her corset pressed cruelly against her ribs. The wig, the makeup, the girdle, all of it felt like shackles. But what terrified her more was the key, Clara's necklace glinting every time Lena saw her. That key wasn't just to the belt. It was to her prison. At 11:55, Lena slipped from her room, heels in hand. Her heart thundered as she crept down the hallway, every creak of the floorboards sounding like an alarm. And then, a voice. Going somewhere, sweetheart? Vivian leaned in the shadows, arms crossed. Cliffhanger, had she been caught before she even reached Damien? Vivian stepped forward, eyes like daggers. I warned you. Damien's poison. He'll ruin you. But before Lena could stammer a reply, Damien appeared from the stairwell, fists clenched. She's coming with me. The director laughed, pulling a small brass key from her pocket. She isn't going anywhere. Then, in a blur, Damien lunged. The key skittered across the floor. Lena dove, snatching it up, tears stinging her eyes. It was the key, the one thing that could free her. Run! Damien shouted. They bolted into the night, Vivian's shrieks echoing behind them. Cliffhanger, would the key actually work, or had Clara tricked them with a fake? The two of them ran breathless through the wet grass, the glow of lanterns flashing behind them as troop members joined the chase. They reached the train yard just as the midnight freight roared past, sparks flying from the rails. Damien grabbed Lena's hand. Now or never. But Lena froze. The key dug into her palm. What if it didn't work? What if she couldn't keep up? Behind them, Clara's voice rang out, Lena! Come back, or you'll regret this. Lena turned to Damien, her lips trembling. If we get on that train, there's no going back. Damien cupped her face. That's the point. We go forward. The train slowed at a crossing. He hoisted her onto the side ladder. Shouts erupted behind them. Hands outstretched. Lanterns blinding. Cliffhanger, would they make it aboard, or be dragged back into captivity? The train rattled into the night, swallowing the town in darkness. Lena clung to Damien, shaking. For the first time, there were no directors, no costume mistresses, no mother hovering with rules. Only her. And him. They huddled in an empty boxcar, breath mingling. Damien took the key from her trembling hand. Let me, he whispered. She nodded. The lock clicked open. The belt clattered to the wooden floor. Lena gasped, doubling over as if she could finally breathe again. Damien pulled her close. You're free now. But even as relief washed over her, dread coiled in her stomach. Because somewhere down the line, Vivian and Clara would be waiting. And Lena knew, escaping was only the beginning. Cliffhanger, were they truly free, or had they just stepped into a bigger trap? The train carried them through the night, away from the small town, the theater, and the cage Lena had lived in. By dawn, they slipped into the bustle of a distant city. Nobody knew her face here. Nobody called her Lena or Leo. She was just invisible. Damien found them a cheap room above a bakery. The walls smelled of yeast and sugar, the bed sagged, but to Lena it felt like the first taste of freedom. For days, she stayed hidden, terrified Clara or Vivian might track them down. She flinched at every knock, every shadow. But Damien never left her side. He found odd jobs, brought back food, made her laugh in quiet moments when she thought she couldn't smile again. One night, Lena whispered, "What if they find us?" Damien took her hands, rough but steady. "Then we run again." "But if we spend all our lives running, then they've already won. We have to start living." It was then Lena realized, freedom wasn't just escape. It was the courage to choose who she would be. Cliffhanger, was she ready to stop hiding and start living? Weeks passed. Lena slowly built a new self. She cut her hair into a soft bob, dyed it chestnut, and found clothes that were hers, not forced costumes, not disguises. Just hers. One morning, she and Damien sat at the bakery downstairs. Flour dust clung to his shirt, laughter clung to his smile. "I signed us up for auditions," he said casually. Lena's heart lurched. Auditions? For a community play here. Nothing like Vivian's circus. Just small-town theater. No traps. No cages. Just you, if you want it. She stared at him, stunned. For so long, the stage had been a prison. But now, with Damien, it could be something else, a place to speak her truth. Tears filled her eyes. She nodded. Yes. But this time, I go as me. He reached across the table, squeezing her hand. Whoever you want to be, I'll be there. For the first time, Lena wasn't running from her old life. She was walking toward a new one, side by side with someone who saw her not as an actor, not as a role, but as a person worth loving. The curtain had fallen on the nightmare. A new act, her act, was about to begin.